Heyo! Hello, and welcome back to the Philly Gamer channel. Today we are doing a different video. We are actually going to be talking about Spider-Man, and we're going to have another Spider-Man video following this up. For these series of videos, I have Brandon here with me.
Hi.
You might recognize his voice from Caffeine Co-op. You might not recognize his face because I don't think I've ever recorded his face on this channel.
So, yeah.
So this is it.
It's not allowed.
In its glory. And my glory. And that's the glory. So, yeah, without further ado, let's talk Spider-Man. So, we are going to be talking about the Sam Raimi and Mark Webb Spider-Man series. What I wanted to do was look at both of these before the new Spider-Man Homecoming comes out. Right off the back, Brandon, are you excited for this new movie?
Very excited.
All right,
I
good.
love Spider-Man.
No, that's all you're saying. That's it. You're done.
Done with the video.
Okay, so
Breaking the rules.
let's jump right into it. Sam Raimi, he did the original Spider-Man trilogy, the only one that's made it to 3 so far, and yes, we are including all 3 movies. So Brandon, what did you like? What was your pros for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man?
I think it was an incredible achievement in superhero films, especially for the time. At that point,
right.
we only had X-Men, the first X-Men. Still, also a great film.
Huge stepping stone.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's before that. There's Blade. That was probably the most recent one, and then before that, you don't really have anything of note or worth talking about. But with this first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, it's a huge undertaking of something we hadn't really seen before, which is a huge scale for superheroes and kind of showing that these characters are worthwhile seeing on the big screen.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I remember getting in line to go see the first Spider-Man movie in theaters.
Yeah.
And that just being... I think that was the first time I remember standing in line for a movie. I actually saw it with my grandparents, and I was just like, why are we waiting in line? And my grandparents didn't understand either that this was just such a huge stepping stone for Marvel comics, or for comic book movies, I mean.
Right.
But yeah, I just gotta say, I think as a whole, it just did a great job of bringing comics to a screen. It really personified these characters in a way that, as you said, hadn't really been done before, besides X-Men, which did a great job. And it was just, in one word, and I'm going to go back to this later probably, it was memorable. It really was. All of them.
Exactly.
They all had those great moments that just made you want to watch them again and again, and you truly wanted to cheer for Peter Parker to succeed as Spider-Man.
I think that's a huge part of it, is that you have such a likable lead with Tobey Maguire. I think he's a great Peter Parker. There's been a lot of flack against him, and I think we can start getting into a little bit of the pros and cons of the film. And pros, I think definitely he nails the emotional part of Peter Parker. You really feel for him that he's a teenager. He's going through some tough times. He has bullies. He has tests to study for, and he misses the bus. That's incredibly frustrating, and I think deeply something people can relate about. For the one con I think comes to mind is that in some ways I think Tobey Maguire has a tough time with being Spider-Man because he's not particularly quippy, or a lot of jokes come out of him. And that's a huge part of Spider-Man, is that he's a very funny kind of hero who he jokes around with his villains as he's fighting them, and we don't really get that much with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
So, I agree, and I'm just going to go right into my cons here. So, my pros, to sum that up, was they're just great movies.
Yeah.
They really
incredible.
are. Sam Raimi did a great job. The cast did a great job. But that being said, my con, uncomfortably, the cast. I just think that a lot of the choices looking back, a lot of the choices were just not exactly good fits. Now, that's not to say they didn't do a good job.
Right.
Because, again, this was... But, yeah, Tobey Maguire, as you said, he is a great Peter Parker, but it really hurt looking back, that he just wasn't a funny Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's a tough part of the movie, and something I have to admit is a huge part of the character. I mean, like, you don't have Spider-Man unless you have him with jokes. I mean, that's as a Spider-Man fan, that's something I look forward to, is him being funny in his comics.
Right. He doesn't like he's known for being so talkative that he's annoying.
Right.
But what's funny to say about that is, I mean, those movies are the reasons I got into comics. So clearly they did something right because I liked the character enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just looking back and comparing the comics themselves, we get a little picky.
Right.
I mean, at the time I liked Kirsten Dunst, but I mean, she's super annoying to like listen to now.
Yeah, she can be a little. It's a little tough sometimes. Their chemistry comes and goes, which is a little frustrating sometimes. Where I think it's great in moments, and I think she has great scenes, but overall, you never really get a sense of what their relationship is like. And something I've thought about for a while is that with the two of them, you only get kind of the preamble to their relationship. You never really get the struggle of being in a relationship and also being a superhero at the same time.
Yeah, I agree, and I just think, like, again, look, at the time and in the moment and looking back as a whole, they were great movies.
Right.
My cons are all nitpicky things.
Yeah.
They're not anything that's going to stop me from watching them again.
Exactly.
Overall, like, it was a great time.
Yeah. I feel bad that we've kind of been critical of the movie, but I also want to kind of just point out some things I really love about these movies, is that they're incredible in terms of the visuals. I think with Sam Raimi, he has such a keen eye for action scenes where he wants every action scene to look different. I think that's something you really get out of those Spider-Man movies, where either you get the small, there's almost a claustrophobic feel to when with Spider-Man, when he goes after the robber that kills his uncle. It's built almost like a horror movie because Sam Raimi is a horror director primarily.
Right.
But I think that's incredible, is that you get such varied, weird action scenes. I mean, the fight between Spider-Man and Green Goblin works so well because of the stakes of he has to save both the New Yorkers and his girlfriend, Mary Jane. And I love that scene so much because there's so much tension in that, but it also feels very big. It takes place on the bridge, and it's very sweeping, and they're fighting each other and going back and forth, and it's incredible. You haven't really seen an action scene done like that. I'd say before, and something with that big of those like special effects still hold up in parts. And then you have the great action scene near the end with Spider-Man again and the Goblin, and they have a great just knockdown, drag out, old school superhero.
Oh, that's one of my favorite fights.
Oh, it's brutal but it's really
emotional
satisfying.
too.
Yeah, it's
like it hits you on all levels. That fight.
Like Spider-Man gets the crap kicked out of him at some points. It's a little tough to watch. I mean, he is like, he gets knocked around, thrown just across the screen, and it's terrifying. It like for the viewer, because you're not sure what's going to happen to Spider-Man. But and also, if we're talking about the trilogy, I want to point out my favorite scene in all three of them is between with Peter Parker when he's on the phone, when he's talking to Mary Jane, and he admits that he's Spider-Man on the payphone. And it's incredible. It's like one of my favorite scenes because it's so emotionally naked for him as a character that he just tells her, and he wants to admit this is how things are, and it's heartbreaking. He wants so badly to be with her, but there's the fact that he can't. He made this promise to himself that he wants to be Spider-Man, and especially the conflict in Spider-Man 2 of him so desperately wanting to be happy. And I think that's a really, really tough emotional decision for him, is that he has to decide between doing the right thing and being happy. And that's something, people don't usually have to choose between. Like, I don't have to get up every day and be like, well, I gotta go save everybody. Or I could go and, not do this and be happy. But I don't have to. I have that luxury of not being Spider-Man, and that's a very harrowing decision for him to make. Sorry, that went way longer than I was
No, it's fine.
expecting,
It's
but I
a
really
great
like
way to
those movies.
point. It's a good way to point out that one of the best qualities of Tobey Maguire is his acting. Like I would not say Tobey Maguire was a bad actor. It was just whether or not he was the right fit. Again, with the nitpicking.
Right.
But he on an emotional level, he nails everything.
Yeah.
He really brings the character home. Are we safe to say we can move on to what is going to be a more unhappy conversation?
I think so. Parts of it will be happy.
Okay, so moving from Raimi, we're gonna go to Mark Webb's Spider-Man. I don't know, duo saga. It's not two
yeah.
movies. Is that a saga? A quarrel?
I wouldn't count those movies as saga. As a saga, but
In
a way,
we could
they
call it a fleeting attempt.
yeah, very fleeting attempt.
Well, all right. Either way, so
Let's get to that. Yeah, let's
Mark
get to the movies
Webb.
before we- Great name for a director of Spider-Man. Let's
There
say
you
that.
go.
I mean,
I still have $5
Gross.
on a
There you
bet
go.
that's the only reason why he was hired.
Who should we get? Mark Webb. Great.
In.
He was born for this. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want me to start? Because I feel like I'll be a little softer with this at first.
I think you should start first.
Okay,
I
so
went pretty long on that
so
one.
going into Mark Webb's movies, I was much older. Obviously, it was much
Right.
more recent, and I had read comics, so I had now a predetermined idea of what Spider-Man should be like.
Right.
And probably being after angsty teenage years, I was angry at Tobey Maguire, so I was ready for a new Spider-Man.
Yeah. It was a different time.
It was different times. I was young and reckless. It was all of 5 years ago.
Didn't know what I wanted.
So Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. My pros for Webb is just the duo of Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone.
Oh, they are
That is
fantastic.
easily the best part of that
Amazing
those
chemistry.
movies. They're truly like witty with each other, back
Yeah.
and forth. They do a great job of just being a cute little couple,
Yeah.
right? A couple of things.
Adorable on and off the screen.
Ooh, until
Tantalizing.
they broke up, which was the saddest day of my life.
Very sad, actually.
But going to Andrew Garfield, he plays, in my opinion, a extremely well done Spider-Man, with his banter, with his just kind of joshing around attitude. He's a good Spider-Man.
Right.
I really enjoyed his Peter Parker, but if I'm honest with myself and with you, he doesn't play Peter Parker. He plays. If anything, if anything, he plays the modern comic Peter Parker in teenage Peter Parker's body,
Right.
which is super sure of himself and confident. But I mean, that's not who he was as a teenager.
Right.
He was a dork and scared of everyone.
Weirdo. Yeah.
Right. So he wasn't a good Peter Parker. Like I said, I liked him as Spider-Man.
There's aspects. I actually do like that he's a skater, because I think that's a great way of he's a kind of a loner kind of kid. He doesn't really have many friends, so he's just going to be off in
That's true.
his warehouse being a skater, and it kind of works for the character. It's he's a goober in the 21st century, and it's kind of back in the 60s he would wear a sweater vest and tie to class for some reason, but nowadays he's a a skate punk, like a crusty kid who just kind of hates the world and kind of he's kind of just annoyed with everybody, but he's still a nerd. He still loves science and still.
And I absolutely love that. I really do think he nails the whole paranoid, smart kid.
Right. Damn. Yes. Sorry, I got really. I was pretty tense that entire
Scorpion
time.
be
I was
dead.
I want to point out this game has some rough controls. If you want to go back and play it, let's just say you can't go home again. But I think in terms of pros, there is some pros. I definitely think in the second film there's some amazing color that's used. That movie is amazingly put together. Here's Daredevil. Amazingly put together in terms of visuals. There's some great visual scenes, but the color just being so vibrant and almost off the screen. There's a fight with Electro, kind of near the end of the movie, where it's kind of them with Spider-Man and Electro. They're just bouncing around this power plant, some kind of place with like power and electricity. I cannot remember for the life of me what that plot was about or how that movie ended, but I remember very vividly. There's a shot in the trailer that was like burned in my brain. Was with Electro shooting electro bolts at Spider-Man. Spider-Man is like flipping around. He is swinging every which way, and he swings in this way that just barely narrowly misses a lightning bolt. That looks amazing. That is a fantastic visual scene.
Oh, yeah.
Like, great looking effects. And I think that might be a lot of my pros. I'll probably think of more pros, but big one.
It's okay. Like we're finishing it up. It's like that's it. Like the movies, the Mark Webb movies are eye candy.
Yeah,
that's essentially what they are.
Also, there is a great. I think the ending of 2 is pretty incredible. Like the ending, the fight with
yes,
Rhino
we've talked about this.
is amazing. It's one of my favorite things.
Like it was almost a good way for that series to end because it was like it just left so much like in Peter Parker's hands that like even though we're not gonna find out what happened or the Sinister Six and none of that was supposed to happen is actually gonna happen, like it's okay because like Spider-Man's on it. Like we might never enter that universe again, but
it's safe to say, and it's very comforting. I like this way of thinking. Is that it's a way of kind of showing the audience like Spider-Man he's gonna keep fighting for the little guy, and I love that. It's a great way of kind of showing the audience like it's a very moving way of kind of thinking like it's okay. Like Spider-Man will always be out there for us, and that's a pretty damn good way to go out on a series.
Agreed. Now, what don't we like about the Mark Webb movie?
Maybe I'll just be quiet.
How about I go first, just to put it out in the air, and if you want to interject, you just go with it.
I've softened on it. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
As movies, they're pretty much garbage. Like I feel bad because sometimes I think that most of that reason is because of Sony's involvement.
I think so, yeah.
Because they were just pushing for so much. I mean, they had the Venom and Sinister Six movies were announced before Amazing Spider-Man 2 even came out.
Right.
I think it was announced at the first trailer, if I remember correctly.
I think it was like that, and then Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4 were also announced.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it was supposed to be 4 movies. They had planned 4 movies.
Which I would have liked. That would have been fascinating because this is also maybe a tangent that I can do like for another time. But I have a problem with modern films adhering so strictly to the idea of a trilogy-based arc where you can plot out how everything is going to go. In some ways, thanks to Star Wars, and no thanks to Star Wars, but it's just something I've been frustrated by is that you have a very particular way that these movies are going to play out, and if they were to do a 4-movie saga, how does that 4th movie change the 3rd movie instead?
Right, and I think a really good, easy way to look at that is if you want to have 4 movies, that's all fine.
Yeah,
but each movie should be a good movie.
Yeah,
on its own.
Part of it. Yeah.
Like sure, The Empire Strikes Back leaves a lot in the air,
right,
but it's still a great movie on its own.
Exactly.
And I think that's the biggest problem is with like Amazing Spider-Man 1, it has its flaws, but it's a fun movie. Like I like Amazing Spider-Man.
There's some good parts though. Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 has some good parts, but it's just such a tease for what could that like you don't want to watch it because it's just so we like the ending with Rhino, but there's just so much left in the air. Like there was a Sinister Six, or what was going to happen with Venom and Harry and everyone. Like you want to know. I'm
gonna break this game in half.
But that's really my biggest thing is that it's the first movie did what it sought to do, which was introduce us. And it was a struggle because we've already seen the introduction, but it was good. It was a good introduction.
Right. Yeah.
But then they Spider-Man 3'd it in the second one.
Yeah, it's it's super frustrating, and it's really sad to see that, like something I think could have been a great film. I mean, they changed the costume for this.
Oh my god, that was the best costume on screen at the time.
Good. Yeah,
at the time. We'll get into that. Actually, that'll be the next video. But yeah. So I want to say that's in short what was wrong, but that's a huge what was wrong.
Right.
You know,
yeah. I mean that's
like
not the whole thing.
that's writing, directing, acting. That's everything.
Yeah.
Man, we got really loud at some of these parts. But
really excited about it. Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to specifically say about web series?
The
web series.
The
better
web
as a
Spider-Man?
web series.
That's really good. We should just leave it at that. I don't really want to say anything. But I think it's difficult because of as you pointed out that there's a lot of involvement by Sony, which is it's really frustrating to hear about that. And a lot of the plans I think could have worked out, but Sony kind of shit the bed with Amazing Spider-Man 2, and we never got to see that, like the version of the movie that Drew Goddard wanted to make. This game's pretty cheap in a lot of parts, actually. Didn't remember that.
It's a shame, and I think that's the perfect way to end on that saga.
Is Spider-Man dying?
That's series. That too. Okay, so we're finishing up here. So basically, our closing thoughts on the first two Spider-Man series, and I have it summed up into one question for you. So your closing thought is to answer this question.
Okay.
And the question is, when someone says Spider-Man movies, what do you think
Oh,
of?
that's a good one. The Sam Raimi films. It's partly because I grew up with them, but it's also because I've watched those movies countless times, and I've thought about so many of those scenes.
Yep.
Over the years, just implanted in my brain.
No, and I was one of those people that we butted heads because I was a huge web series fan because I just was so quote unquote drunk on the new Spider-Man, because I really did I love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I really do. It's just one thing can't hold a whole movie or a whole series for that matter.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to, and as much as I would have loved to have Emma Stone as Spider-Gwen, maybe eventually, but I can dream.
Yep. And you know that's I if I were to answer the question, you know, if someone says Spider-Man, which one am I thinking of? I wholeheartedly agree. It's going to be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man because I mentioned it early on. It's just more memorable.
Yeah.
When you think of the scene that Peter Parker becomes Spider or gets bit by the spider, you're thinking of him taking the picture of Mary Jane and the spider hits his hand. You're not thinking of that weird lab scene.
Oh yeah, that was
in Amazing Spider-Man. It's an
that.
Extremely awkward scene where the spider lands on his neck, and it's weird. No, it's more iconic. Thinking about him dangling and touching his hand while he's taking that picture.
Yeah.
And then in villains we talked about when you think of that final battle, if someone says the final Spider-Man battle, it's when he's neck and neck with the Goblin and he's crushing his hand and he's trying to spin a web.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
You're not thinking
that scene is so it's a great visual too. Is that with Spider-Man, he's going to keep trying to fight, and he's trying as hard as he can just to rise up and spin one more web, but Green Goblin just crushes his hand under his foot, and it's just such a hard visual.
And that was it. You didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
But did you realize the same exact scene is in Amazing Spider-Man?
Really?
When the Lizard is holding Spider-Man, he crushes his web shooters, so he can't spin a web. It's the same thing, but you don't think of that.
I never thought that. No.
You didn't. That pressure wasn't on you. Even though the Lizard had a whole city under his the Goblin just had Mary Jane and that trolley.
Yeah.
That was it. It wasn't the Goblin wasn't holding the city hostage.
Yeah.
The Lizard literally was, and yet the Goblin and Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, is way more impactful.
Yeah.
And that scene, those moments that you remember, that's why I think those are the better movies.
Yeah. I will say though, if we should just end it on that. I feel so bad, but we could still. But I think if for some people who are younger than me, so I don't care about their thoughts or opinions, but for some people,
Garbage
the
humans.
the Amazing Spider-Man is movies that they think of, and that's okay. That for them, that's Spider-Man.
That's
It's
perfectly
pretty
fine.
cool. Yeah, it's a great Spider-Man to have, and I think every generation is going to have something like that, and every generation has their Batman, except for there's the right one, Michael Keaton, but we'll talk about that another time. But I think it's important to remember that everyone has their own superhero, and it's important to respect their opinions for that.
That is a 100% true statement. That, remember, opinions, while everyone has them, everyone likes to say, like, oh, everyone has an opinion. Yeah, so you should respect everyone's opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that we should end on that note.
Yeah, don't be
Spider-Man, he's had a rough patch, but you know what? Both series were Spider-Man. They really were. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening.
Swear to God. Thank you from Brandon.
And I'm Zach, and I'm out.